Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Our V.I.P feature guest is an entrepreneur and business owner. With a degree in both business and dance, she opened a dance studio in her hometown where she grew up once she was done dancing professionally. Successfully running and expanding the business, she and her husband knew it was time for the next step. Both sold their separate businesses and moved their family to Texas. They currently have a packaging company, Western Packaging, that provides end-to-end solutions for flexible packaging and fulfillment. In addition, they own and operate a real estate portfolio of investment and rental properties since 2007. Silhouettes, help me welcome April Slapa to the show. Hello, April. How are you?
Hello, I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So pumped up to talk with you. Have you share your story. I think the silhouettes are going to catch on real quick. For the audience, April has this dynamic energy aura that just encircles you. So I am so thrilled to connect with you and share you with the audience today.
Thank you. I love it. I'm excited.
Good. All right. We are just going to jump right in. And again, thank you for taking time to share some of your Silhouette of Success story with us. Help illustrate for the audience what maybe a little bit about your background, or, we touched on that in the intro, but this is your time. Share a little bit about your background with the audience.
Sure. Well, I think entrepreneurship and owning a business and everything, it came to me at a really young age. I knew that I didn't want to work, in a conventional business. And I always just loved dance. So it was a passion of mine, but growing up, we didn't have, we didn't have a lot. My parents always provided everything that we needed, but there were 4 children and, the nearest dance studio was, pretty far away. And, we were all involved in other things. So I never really got a chance to dance, but I had always told everybody growing up that I was going to own a dance studio someday. And so I remember my dad took me to a Bulls game when I was in 5th grade. It was Christmas Day and I was 5th grade and it was Bulls game and I saw the Lovables and I was like, I'm going to do that. And I'd never danced a day in my life at that point. And so, time went on and I graduated high school and I knew I was going to continue and go on and dance. And I actually still had not danced at that point, but I went and auditioned for a dance program at a college. And I was always an athlete. So I was able to kind of fake my way, fake it till you make it. And so I got into the dance program and that just, took off from there. And so then, I ended up going and dancing for the Bulls after that. And then I was like, I'm opening a dance studio. That's what I want to do. That's what I said I was going to do. And it wasn't until, I always had it in my mind that I was going to do it, but it wasn't until I met my husband that I actually took the steps. And I think that is so important in a lot of people's journeys, is finding people, in your circle or in your tribe that can help push you. And, he was the one who was really like, well, if that's what you want to do, why are you not doing it? Just do it. And I think I quit my job and like a month later I had opened a studio. I mean, I was just like, okay, just do it. That's what I'm doing. And so, I had that. We ended up expanding. We got married in there, obviously, and then we ended up expanding the business and everything was going great. But, my husband and I kind of knew that it was like we were ready for the next step. He owned a packaging company for about 20 years in Chicagoland area. He sold that business and we knew we were going to move down to Texas. And so I sold the dance studio and we basically picked up and just moved to Texas and started everything all over. He, at that point, decided he wanted to continue in the packaging business. And so he basically opened a new packaging company and just we kind of took it from there and have been growing that and expanding that here in Texas. On the side, we also own real estate properties that, we got into. And when I had sold the dance studio, the big question was, what are you going to do? Like, am I going to continue with dance? And at that point, we had young children and it was a lot of nights and weekends. And I loved dance. I mean, I will always love dance. Not necessarily done with it yet, but I might be coming back to it as my kids get older. But I wanted to be able to have those nights and weekends with them when they were not at school and to be at all their sports and do all their stuff with them. So I really took over all the accounting and I run all the accounting portion for our real estate companies. And then I actually do all the accounting stuff for the packaging company as well. So, we both kind of split here and there, but we're able to work together and to have time with our family. I think that's our big thing.
It's so remarkable to hear your story and your husband, of course, because what I'm
Yes.
seeing here is just what you mentioned, how important it is to find that encouraging partner or support system. And it looks like you guys are a great team.
Yes, we both, it's funny, we both have very strong, like A-type personalities.
Uh-huh.
And, you think that we would clash at some point, but we end up balancing each other out really great. When I am overwhelmed with something, he calms me down and vice versa. So it does work.
Isn't that awesome? It's a gift. It's a blessing, really, to
Yes,
find
yes.
somebody. Oh, how cool. So, okay, let's back up a little bit and talk
Yeah.
about the dance. So, what was your studio like?
So, it's funny when I think back about it. There's an innocence, I think, when you are younger that you have all these dreams and ambitions, and there is nothing holding you back. Hopefully, people have parents and people and other friends and family in their lives that tell you as a child or tell your children that you can do whatever you want. Like if you want to be the president, you can go be the president. If you want to be a dancer, you can be a dancer. I think there's such an innocence that I had even when I got to that point that I was opening the studio because I had never danced a day in my life inside a studio. I did have a dancing degree, so once I went to college, I took all these classes, I overloaded everything. I mean, I bought every book, every DVD. I watched every single dance thing that you could do. I went into every studio to try to see if I could get a job or kind of learn, but I'd never actually grown up dancing in a studio. And so it was definitely a learning curve because I had nothing to base it off of. I didn't have like an entrepreneur, somebody who had already been in that field and done it and to guide me. And so I was really on my own a lot in that aspect. And, I had people help guide me in the business aspect, but the dance aspect, I really just was like, I like this. This is fun. We're going to do this, and so I just started expanding and I was able to do ballet, jazz, tap, hip hop. We started competition teams. I taught fitness classes. I did ballroom as well too. I used to actually teach at a ballroom studio in college as well too. So I taught that at the studio. And I think about a year in, I was just renting, a one room tiny studio. And about a year in, we bought an old bowling alley. And renovated it into a really big studio. I lucked out in that aspect. My dad was always in the construction industry, and so he remodeled and did everything for me. And so I had this awesome big studio, and at that point, it was funny. I was pregnant with our first child, and we opened the new studio, I think, like in November, and my son was born in February. And then I was like, I have to be at the studio. And I don't normally regret things, but I do regret this because he was born and I was back to work full time 7 days later, teaching classes. I mean, I was up there. I was teaching and doing cartwheels a week before he was born. And I taught up until the day before he was born. And then I went back to work right afterwards. And, that is the one thing that I regret because I think I should have really taken that time. I mean, that is such a special time with your child that you don't get back. And work will always be there. But I really gave my all in it. I mean, I was constantly working, whether I was at home or at the studio, but I loved it. I really did love it. But it was just time to move on to the next step.
Now that's the nitty gritty right there. That
Yes.
backstory there is just where that is amazing. Okay, I was envisioning you along this journey as you're sharing the story. The old bowling alley. I mean, that's just too cool. That is too cool.
Yes, it was actually in my hometown. That's where I was dead set on opening the dance studio where I grew up and my parents grew up, and my mom worked at the library right there in the town, and there was this old bowling alley that was there when we were kids, and we would like take gym class and we would walk down to the bowling alley and go bowling. And the fact that I later owned it and remodeled it into a dance studio, it was very sentimental to me. So
Oh, it doesn't get better than that. I tell you what. And there's so many fun things that you're sharing, but I can relate to you on the going back to work. And then I think of it now, the mindset for me, very similar to you in doing what you did. It's interesting because looking back, you think, oh, I wish I would have. But then I have to release that too, because you're in that moment, but I know that they pick up on that self-determination and the gusto and the work ethic and knowing that you needed to do that because they get that osmosisly, and they were
yes,
with
yes.
you along the whole ride doing cartwheel. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know they were the most energetic babies, and I think it was because I was, they were jumping around in
Yeah.
my belly the whole time. But
Uh,
and I
yeah.
think like I said, I really don't ever really regret or look back and try to think, oh, like I would have changed this or I would have changed
Yeah.
that. Of course, there's things when you look at your business or your journey that, I could have probably done this a little bit differently, but it also doesn't take you to where you're at now.
Right.
So you have to always look at those moments and build from them and
Yeah.
learn from them because that's really what it is. It's not a mistake, it's not an error. It's a building moment and a learning and a teaching moment.
Oh, I love how you put that. Oh, goodness. All right. So the alarm clock goes off. And clearly now we know you have your hands full. The business day or work day begins for you. As women, strong women, successful women in our own rights, whatever that personal success is, we always see each other doing all these amazing things and we think, how does she
Mhm.
do it? So, a day in the life for you, would you say that you would be more structured with a routine, spontaneous spirit? Any best practices as you think about, tell us about a day in the life?
Well, I am definitely a structure person. I'm a creature of habit. I
Yeah.
tend to do the same things every day. I eat at the same time. I pack my lunch the same way every day. I mean, definitely a creature of habit. My husband and I, we both are the same way. So again, it works. We get up typically around like 4:30 in the morning, and we try to work out in the morning before, getting the kids up and the kids' activities and heading off to work. And we try to meal prep, so we tend to eat the same things. I probably need to add a little bit more variety into our diets, but we do have a very structured day in our household. And we laugh because when something goes on, we're like, oh my gosh, it's way past our bedtime. Like, I don't know what to do. But, we like that balance
Yeah.
of working out and work and family time and getting your sleep in so you can operate better. I think that's so important in everything. I feel like it helps your mood. It helps you get more work done. It helps your family life and your relationships. So I think that's really important to have that balance.
That's huge, that sleep too. I tell you what,
I
right?
know. I never appreciated it as much as I do now.
Yes, I know. Oh, goodness gracious. Thinking back on your journey, who would you say most influenced you as you embarked on your career path? Because you've talked about, of course, your dance and your fitness,
Mhm.
and I think there might be a little bit more on that fitness thread to follow. I don't know if you want to
Sure.
talk about that, but that's up to you. But also your business degree and all of these things that you're doing. So who could you talk, or it could have been something most influenced you?
I think it is such a variety and your environment and everything that you grow up with. My parents have always been very supportive. They may have thought I was crazy in some of my decisions and things that I wanted to do, like opening a dance studio after never having danced, or those types of things. I think they sometimes were like, "Oh gosh, here she goes." But they were always there with me every step of the way. I mean, I talked to my mom, I think, every single day. And even when I had the dance studio, she worked at the library right next to my studio. So, I mean, we were so close. And so I think that I always had very supportive parents. It's huge. And my husband, like I said, he's the one who really pushed me, and he was into business too. So all those business questions I was able to ask him. I think that if he wasn't the one who really pushed me, I wouldn't have been as successful, just because I didn't have that entrepreneur business ownership background. So he's been huge in that as well too. We always run things by each other, even in the two businesses now. Every time I hit a snag on something or he hits a snag, like we just, we're each other's soundboards, and not just as husband and wife, but as business partners too. And I think that's extremely important. He has always had, in his life, he's always had great mentors. And I think that really opened my eyes up to finding people that you can, have in that tribe, that you have, a good circle of different business owners or people that you can talk to about different situations, and, just really building that circle of people. I think that is huge, because when you do run into something in your life or business, you have somebody that you can sound this off of, and they can give you advice, or maybe they've been through it.
Well,
So,
you timed it perfectly, because the next question or
yeah.
one of the next questions was just that. As an independent business owner and operator, you own your business and you're in real
Mhm.
estate in that sector, and we both know that both of those, you're really running solo
Yeah.
for the most part. But where do you find support? So you talked about your husband and maybe some mentors. Where do you turn to?
We have kind of developed, I think, over the course of our journey, we have developed different people that we have, like our real estate, that we have really, been able to soundboard things off of. And we have another circle of people that we have found along the way. And I think that that's an important thing to think about as you're growing. That people come into your life at certain moments, and they come into your life for a reason, whether you are going to help them or they're supposed to help you, or both together. And sometimes it is just for that one moment in time, and sometimes it's for the rest of your life. So I think it's really important not to burn any bridges, but sometimes those people, are there for that circle. Like I had a great circle of women when I owned the dance studio, and I don't necessarily need that anymore because I don't have the studio. However, if any of them called me and needed something or needed advice, I would be there, but we just don't talk the way we used to. And I think another thing that I have learned over this journey is children. Your children, I think, are they're teaching you so much, and we don't realize it. And it's been such an eye opener for me. I have two stepkids, and my stepson, he's 27 years old now, but he has grown and he's into real estate as well too. And it's really unique to see that my husband and I will actually call him and talk to him about different deals now. And I just think it's so cool that he has built up a circle and knowledge and all this stuff. And to see that we will call him up and talk to him about certain things and get his advice, I just think that is the coolest thing.
The evolution of watching them grow
Mhm.
and develop, and just what you said, just because he's in his spheres, and then to be able to have that relationship and just the confidence and trust in each other at that age. It
Yes.
is pretty cool to watch what's transpired and where they are in the moments, and that you're able to connect with them on an entirely different level. It is really cool.
It is. And I think it's so humbling. I feel like my younger children have grown up. I've always been like, oh, what do I need to teach them? What do I need to teach them? What do I need to teach them? And sometimes you need to sit back and be like, oh, they're teaching me patience, or they're teaching,
Yes.
they're teaching you too. But it's
Yeah.
so cool now that, my stepson's an adult, and he's become very successful in what he's doing. And to be able to sit back and listen to him and get advice from him, it's very cool. Like you said, it's just that circle of life. It's so interesting.
It is. I'm listening to you share, and what I'm hearing is you're a goal chaser, but you're a goal
Yes.
achiever. And you make
Yes.
things happen. So thinking about that mindset that you clearly have there been any positive adjustments, or again, maybe the word is best practices, that you've incorporated into your life or your environment to help support you achieving those dreams and goals?
Yes. Like I said, I think it's really important to find people in your circle. Like you mentioned the fitness. I did get into the fitness world. I was doing different competitions and all that kind of stuff. And that's a grueling experience. You really have to be structured in your diet and all that kind of stuff. But finding friends and stuff that were into that I was able to bounce things back and forth on, or inspire each other, hold each other accountable. I have my whole life, and my husband and I try to do this with our kids too, is envisioned everything. Like I said, when I was in fifth grade and I saw the Bulls cheerleaders, I envisioned myself ever since fifth grade being a dancer for the Bulls. And then it happened. So I think I did that with my studio. I do that all the time now. And I try to teach my kids, like, whether you do a vision board or you imagine it. This is kind of silly, but I ran a marathon, and I am not a runner. I had no desire to run a marathon. And I just jokingly signed up for it with my brother-in-law. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hate running. I'm never going to do this. And my husband was like, he just thought it was so funny. He's like, you're never going to make it. And, he was saying it as a joke because he's a very supportive husband. But I was like, oh no, I'm going to make it. And I'm going to do a cartwheel over the finish line just to prove you all wrong. And so, of course, that's what I had to do. But as I was training, you're running a 20 mile on a Saturday. And I'm like, this is so boring to me. So I just envisioned myself doing that cartwheel over the finish line and to get through it, So I think that is so important in all the journeys that you take throughout your life, to see yourself in that next step and really feel it, feel that moment and imagine it in your head to help make it happen.
Okay, silhouettes, you heard her. So whenever you are struggling, envision yourself.
Yes.
It may not be a cartwheel for everybody, but you can at least envision yourself doing something to cross that finish line. Oh, I love
Right.
that. I love that. Okay, so here's the deal too. So something that I really pride myself on is keeping us on time. And I've got so
Yes,
much
yes.
I'm going to ask you. So I don't want to let you go without definitely getting into this, because this is
Sure.
something that we just learned from each other so much on this question. And it's probably more of a two-part. But can you think of a specific point in time, event, key situation that really forced you to take a monumental shift in your business or career? And with the result of that, positive or painful, how did going through that help you grow?
My husband and I had, back when I had the dance studio and we were still in Illinois, we had goals. Like I said, we've always kind of envisioned our goals and this is what we want. Like, here's our 5-year plan. And so we had note cards that
Mm.
said what we were doing. And hey, we're moving to Texas in 5 years. And it was actually perfect timing. I think our little ones were just about to start kindergarten. And then the older two had just graduated and were going off to college and, starting their own lives. So it was like that perfect timing of moving. And so we had that all placed out. But I was so into the dance studio and I was like, I can't leave it. So we tossed it back and forth. Well, can you still move to Texas and just still have the studio, but have other people running it? And that was really hard for me to make that decision. And I just didn't think that that was the option for me. And I mean, I prayed about it. It was a big decision. And finally I just felt it like internally. And I was like, okay, I'm making the announcement today. And it was like, I mean, he would ask me every day, are we making the announcement today? Are we making the announcement? And I just wasn't ready. And then finally I just hit that point. So then we get to Texas. I'm kind of taking a little sidestep here. We get to Texas and I really hadn't, I mean, I was always helping with both companies. I wasn't really in it. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I love working. I just love it. I love getting things accomplished. I love building companies. I love figuring out what's working, what's not working. And so we like different shows. There was a show on TV called The Prophet. I don't know if you've seen Marcus
Uh-huh.
Lemonis, I believe is his
Uh-huh.
name. And so he would go into different businesses and just kind of be like, okay, I'm taking over this business and we're going to, it's a failing business and we're going to build it back up. And so we were watching that show and we both looked at each other and I was like, Vince, I need to jump in and I need to take over all the accounting and do everything and just take over all the financials of the companies. And he just looked at me and he's like, I think that's what we need to do too. And so it was actually watching a show and we'd kind of looked at each other and we're like, that's what we need. And so we always, both of us try to listen to podcasts or listen to, he likes audiobooks. I like physical books. But just listening to things that are going to help us, whether it's in our personal lives or our physical fitness or our food, that we intake or our businesses, we try to listen to things that are going to motivate us and help us with things that we're struggling with.
So on that, another amazing segue, and the audience knows, I go off script, so I don't ever share like a script. So this is perfect.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. So we all crave great resources, and you just mentioned you like physical books, and so do you have a favorite author or genre or something that you'd want to share with the audience that, motivates or helps uplift you? Because we all like to expand our minds. Do you have a favorite to share?
Yes, I knew you were going to ask this
Yeah.
question and I'm actually horrible about giving specific authors or specific books. I have a whole stack next to my bed that once in a while I will pull out and read different segments on things. But I can tell you right now, we're working with one of our sons on. He's a big athlete and he's very goal orientated as well. And the book that we just got him is called Mind Gym. And it is all different stories about different athletes and their journeys and how they focus on, this is what I want. This is the outcome that I want. How am I going to achieve it? And just their different journeys that way. My husband's actually a little better at this than I am. He will do the audiobooks. And when he finishes one, he's like, okay, you got to log in and listen to this one. So he's got like 16 books or so, like in his little, library or whatever that he's got on a list for me to listen to and read. So I'll have to get a couple of those and give you some more input. The one thing that I really have recently done is I hired a coach for myself. And I initially hired her to help me with my diet, my food, and, help me to make sure that what I'm eating is is all balanced and everything like that. But she has taught me so much more outside of food and mental health and keeping your, your brain and your emotions in check. And that's huge. And she's also turned me on to a lot of different things that I will look at Instagram. And obviously they have all these algorithms in there. And you will start, you find some good quotes that you like, and all of a sudden you're getting all these different algorithms of the same kind of stuff. So that's another outlet that I always look at to get me motivated sometimes in the morning.
Fantastic. Mind gym.
Yes.
And yeah, so yeah, if you think of any other, because we
Absolutely.
always put the books in the resource section for the audience so they can go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One more
Awesome.
question, and then I'm going to give
Yes.
you the stage here. In keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration with our audience, do you have a piece of key go-to advice that resonates with you that you kind of, use as a motto, or anything that you'd like to pass on?
Yes. You know what? I would have to say that, well, I'm going to go back a little bit. When you had first asked me to do this, I was shocked. I'm like, why does she want to talk to me? What do I have to offer? And then I thought about it and I'm like, that is the worst response for me to think, like, what do I have to offer? Because we all have different journeys. And I think that we all have something to offer all of each other, and maybe not our whole story, but there's different things that we all have to offer each other. And when I thought of it like that, like, I'm like, I can't, like, I have so many different things that have helped me. Why would I not want to share that with other people? So I think that we all get in our heads sometimes, and we all, you know, get worried or down or think like, I don't know if I can do this, especially if it's going to be a big step. And to really think back and look where you came from, where you are going, and give yourself praise where you need it or where you deserve it, because I think that is so important. Again, to look back where you came from and where you're at right now, because we're not going to all just shoot up. We are going to be like a mountain, how you go up and then you kind of go down, you go back up and you go back down. And so to really appreciate the lows, because those lows are going to bring you back up to another high. And so I think that that is really important, to get yourself out of the lows, because we all have them. We all have those days.
That was so powerful. Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Yes,
Love
thank
that.
you.
Love that. Okay, my lady. It has been just a guilty pleasure and just awesome spending time with you and
Oh,
hearing your
thank
story.
you.
Yes, thank you so much. I truly know that so much of what you have shared will help inspire others. You are a definite light. What I want to do now is allow you to share any contact information or socials. Where can our audience go to find you, connect with you, your business, support you in your continued success?
Yes. Well, like I said, right now we have the packaging company. It's Western Packaging, and we are based out of Irving, Texas currently. And so if you are ever in need of anything like that, if you are interested in the packaging world and looking for a job, you could always contact us there. It's westernpackaging.com. And again, I typically do Instagram. I'm not really a big promoter of things, but there are a lot of things that I like to follow. So if you are interested in looking at me on Instagram, it's April Joys 17. So it's April Joy S 17. And actually, just a little side piece again. My middle name is Joy. My parents named me April Joy because I was born in April, so they named me April Joy. And so that's kind of like my little tagline, April Joy.
Oh,
Choose
it's
joy.
beautiful. Oh, choose joy. There you go.
Yes, that's, and
Oh,
my mom's name is Joy as well too. So the word joy is always all over our houses.
oh, that is fantastic.
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my goodness. All right. You leave me smiling cheek to cheek today.
Yes.
Oh goodness.
Awesome.
All right, my lady. Once again, thank you for spending time sharing your Silhouette of Success story with us.
Absolutely.
It has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at thesilhouettesofsuccess.com or connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We're grateful that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.